Imagine living the same day over and over again. Like dying a million times, being reborn a million times, only to face the same wounds, the same scars, the same unhealed traumas. Picture the ancestral maze, where no matter where you turn, every way leads you back to the same haunting memory. And not only your memory, but the echoes of your parents' pain, your grandparents' struggles, like a nightmare. And this is not a science fiction. This is the reality of transgenerational trauma. I know, difficult name. Same names. Common migration routes. Parallel life-challenging events across family members. At the same age as your parents. For example, number 13. In my family, number 13 echoed like a dark prophecy. I don't know, maybe it started with my grandfather, but I'm sure it goes even further. My grandfather was 13 when he had to escape from Siberia, where he was deported in 1944 with his parents. He had to flee from hunger because his siblings had already died of starvation. One night, his mother put him in animal wagon, pressing 2 slices of bread into his hand, saying, "Go home. Go back to Estonia. Your relatives live there. They're going to help you. You're going to survive if you find them." At that time, at the age of 13, he had to leave her childhood behind in order to survive. And he did. He built a loving family, obviously. When my mother reached the age of 13, fate wrote another cruel chapter. The same father who had escaped from Siberia died at the age of 38. Overnight, my mother had to become a pillar to her family and transform her childhood into adolescence. He had to leave her childhood behind in order to survive. That was the second generation. When I reached the age 13, 6 men in Russian mountains kidnapped me. My fate changed. Everything changed. My mom was there on the business trip. My mom had to be there to face it all. I left my childhood to this moment, to this day, in order to survive. Sorry for being emotional. Last summer, my son turned 13. I felt the heavy weight of generations passing down. For us, this number 13 was not just a number. It was for our family a crossroad where childhood either perished or prevailed. I knew that it wasn't my choice anymore. It was my sacred duty to end this loop where childhood suddenly ends at the age of 13. You may not realize it, but traumas passed down through generations affect many of us. Like unseen handcuffs learned behaviors, deep-rooted anxieties, limit our freedom the way we seldom receive. The bond with those who created us runs deeper than the blood. According to teachings of inherited family trauma, there are 4 unconscious common ways we merge with our parents' pain or fate. First, Mom, Dad, I follow you. Maybe your parents died early and you were trying to die early. Second, Mom, Dad, I share your fate with you. You were treated poorly in your family, I get treated poorly by my partner. Mom, Dad, I do it in your place. You couldn't feel your sadness, I feel the sadness. Mom, Dad, I atone to what you did. You committed a crime and never get punished. I get punished. The more we reject the stories of our parents, the more we merge with their stories. It is our unconscious way to say, I'm connected with you. I'm part of this family history. Think about your own family stories that you've heard. Patterns, behaviors. These could be the clues that transgenerational trauma still affects your family. Maybe, just maybe because of my son, I had to dive deep into inherited family traumas. Maybe, just maybe because of my son, I had to heal hundreds of people before I was ready to heal my own trauma, synchronicity, where childhood suddenly ends at the age of 13. In order to break the cycle, we have to acknowledge that there is always a message behind the loop. And our ancestors want to find it out and wait for us to end it. Because there's always a bigger desire behind the loop. We have to go back and back and back to the moment of the source of pain. Our past stories are there to build a new legacy. My legacy, your children's legacy. Every third generation is a mirror of their grandparents' hopes, wounds, desires. Every third generation. My granddad had to leave at the age of 38 in order to pave the way for me as a third generation. He couldn't complete his mission. He couldn't because he ran out of time. He ran out of opportunities. And the dream to break it was passed down. I had to come as a third generation because his daughter couldn't do it, but I could. Researchers call it the third generation effect, looking at Holocaust survivors and their families. And what they've learned and found out is while the children of survivors directly experience their mothers, fathers' traumas, while grandchildren could show the similar trauma symptoms. So you don't know what's going on. You have the pain, but you don't know to whom it belongs to. When my granddad left, he knew that I can change the loop and end it. In order to end the cycle, We must understand, in order to end it, we have to know the feeling of the same wound, the feeling of the same worry, the feeling of the same anxiety, and the feeling of the same fear, letting go. It wasn't my granddad I had to forgive. You must understand that it wasn't my granddad, but my grandmother to whom I had to forgive. It was my grandmother's actions. She was mom who was watching her son stepping into unknowingness, uncertainty, waiting. Underneath the anger over the situation lies mother primal fear. What if my son would not survive? I had to become a mother in order to understand the pain. In this emotion, I forgot what I was about to say. I had to acknowledge that every step my son will make is not because he's loyal to the patterns. I had to make peace with my grandmother's pain over losing her children for hunger, which made me, as a third generation, to be afraid of having money, to be afraid to lose money as a source of survival. I had to put in rest her sorrow, her hopelessness, her belief. What if my son would not make it? What if my son will not survive? In this forgiveness, I had to be ready to say, dear ancestors, dear mothers and fathers, I forgive you for centuries of anger and pain. Dear granddad, I forgive you. I forgive you the pain you felt leaving your mother behind. I've learned a lesson in this lifetime. I don't have to escape in order to survive. My mother, I forgive you for when you lost your father and were just 13 years old and carried this pain in your ovaries before even I was born, which made me to be afraid to fail in life. I forgive myself that for years I blamed my inner child being in the wrong time at the wrong place. You survived, and that makes you a hero to your children. I had to do the work because transgenerational trauma is not something you get over with. This is something that we acknowledge and we walk our way to healing. The more we share our stories, the more we help our generations ahead. We have to be ready to say, we let you free. I had to reassure my son. My son, you don't have to carry my doubts or relieve my pain. My son, you don't have to take my place or share my fate or heal it. No, I've done my job. I set you free. You don't have to carry this burden of generations to find your own purpose in life. I set you free. You can walk your own path now. I set you free. And yes, one day I had to pull you. And one day maybe you have to pull me. But eventually, it's time to let go. Eventually, I have to stop, and you have to move on. I celebrate every move you make. And I cut this transgenerational worry, asking all the time, would you survive? No, you will thrive. And you will live fully. Dear son, forgive me my mistakes. But believe me, if you can forgive me, one day your children have to forgive you. And believe me, it's easier to forgive if you have forgiven for me. Because all we make mistakes. Thank you.